Good evening everyone, welcome to today's webcast. So you have two ways of interacting with us. You can put your questions in the questions box or the chat box and you can interact with us in this way. In case your internet speed is low and you're facing lack of clarity in audio, you can use voice over internet or you can use the telephone. And you can dial to the following toll-free number 1800-425-4061 and followed by the pin 779139#. So this message will also be sent to you in your chat boxes now. So good evening everyone. So let's start off with today's webinar. So today's webinar is the third lecture or third session of the series Designing Front Panels, and in today's sessions we'll be seeing these topics. So what are the topics that we'll be seeing today? Runtime menu, how to create and configure a runtime menu, and some user interface tools which make your graphical user interface development very easy and as well as very good. So we'll see how to use these UI tools. And then we'll also see some miscellaneous topics like managing resolution, screen resolution, etc. So before we go for today's lecture, so I wanted to take a small feedback regarding the last week's VI contest. So as some of you may know, we had only 2 submissions for the last week's VI contest, and we were curious to know what the reason for this may be, so that we can solve that in the future versions of the webcast. So you have a poll which is right now being launched on your software. So there are 4 options as to what the reason for the not submission may be. So the problem statement, was it unclear, or the implementation method was not clear, or you felt that the solution would take a lot of time, or there's no specific reason?
Chairpersons will be heard.
Okay, so yeah, we have the results for the voting. So around 30% of the people felt that the implementation method was not clear. Around 13% of the people felt that the contest was time taking, and the other about 50%, there's no specific reason. So so I guess what we can definitely solve is implementation method not clear, as well as the contest was time taking. Both of these I think we can solve. So today's focus we will be doing on how to implement the last week's VI contest in a better way. So though that's not the primary aim of today's webcast, during the course of the webcast we will be covering that. Okay, thank you all for the polls. So yeah, so let's start off with today's webcast. So runtime menu is the starting topic that we will start off with. So what do we mean by runtime menu? Let us consider a small application like a media player or something. So whenever you click, you have in the menu bar, you have different options like media, playback, audio, video, tools, view, etc. So in LabVIEW, as you may have seen, the typical menu that you will get pertain to the edit mode of LabVIEW. So during runtime, how to get these particular custom runtime menus, as well as how to detect which button, which of the menu options has been selected. That will be the first thing that we will be seeing in today's webcast. So for example, a media player may have file, open media, import media, tools, visualization, etc. So how to implement something like that in LabVIEW? Now, similarly, so in LabVIEW, there are 2 methods of implementing these runtime menu, or rather 2 different versions of runtime menu. One, runtime menu is the menu that you see when you click on something in the menu bar. So what you see on the top left corner of any window is the menu bar. file, edit, view, etc. So when you click on anything like that, something like that, what options do you get? That is the application menu. And what do you get when you right click on any of the front panel object, that is front panel indicator or control? That is called the front panel menu. So runtime menu is of two types. One is the application menu, another is the front panel object menu. Now let's see a small demo of runtime menu in LabVIEW. So here in front of me I have a VI which presently is not running, and hence you can see all these options which are present are the edit mode options. So as soon as I click run, you can see that there are only 3 options present, and that too they are not the typical LabVIEW options. So this is the custom menu which has been created and configured for this particular VI. So finally, when you create an executable, create an application, create an exe, this is the menu which shows up. Of course, depending on your application, you would want your own menu here, and you would not want LabVIEW menu here. Similarly, you can see that when I right click on this particular waveform chart, I can see 3 options: export waveform, dummy 1 and dummy 2. So as you can see, these are the menus which are present, which can be configured. So whenever I click a particular option, you can see that my LabVIEW VI recognizes that particular event which happened. So whenever an application menu object has been chosen, you can see that in this particular indicator it's getting updated. Similarly, whenever I right click on my front panel object and whenever I click on some object, again the event which has happened has been detected here. So what do I do once this event happens is up to me. Like for example, as soon as I right click and click on export to waveform, whenever this particular event has been detected, I can have a piece of code which exports the waveform chart data into LabVIEW. It's up to me. Now, how do we implement the runtime menu is what we will be seeing. For that, let me open a new window, new VI. So I will show you how to create runtime menu for application menu. So what I need to do is I need to go to edit, I need to go to runtime menu. So again, let me repeat, file, edit, runtime menu, and now I have a window which opens in front of me where you can configure the runtime menu. So I go to here, I go to this list and I choose custom because I want a custom runtime menu, and I start entering my elements here. Like for example, item name 1 may be file, and I add another item and it may be tools, and I add another item and it may be help, okay, etc. And of course I can add sub items also, like under file I add an item and then let us say file save as, and then I move it, I use this right arrow button and I use it so that save as option will be seen under file. So similarly under tools I can add another button and that will be known as, let us say, visualization or something like that. Okay, now as soon as I am done with this, I can save it, and so it is saved as an RTM file. So I name it as my menu. So again, so do you want to change the runtime menu? Of course I do want to. So now whenever my program is running, so let me just put a small while loop inside. So whenever my program is running, the LabVIEW actual menu is being replaced by my own custom menu. Under file I have an option save as, under tools I have visualization, and under help I have nothing because I have not added any. So now, okay, we have successfully added a runtime menu. Now how do we? Now we have successfully added a runtime menu. as you can see. Now how do we use that runtime menu? So in order to use these runtime menus, we will need to use LabVIEW event structure. So I already have a while loop here. I add a LabVIEW event structure. Okay, I configure the timeout to be 100 milliseconds. And now, okay, how do I add the runtime menu options? I right click, add an event case. So what is the event case? The event case corresponds to this VI, and what is the event menu selection by the user. So basically user defined menu selection. I click OK. So as you can see here, I have different options here, item tag and item path. I can show it to you that I can create two indicators for item tag as well as item path. And whenever I create an event in LabVIEW, these two get executed and hence populated. So just for your understanding, I can put a small one button dialog inside this. So I run it, and whenever a particular item has been selected, you can see that those two item tags are correctly detected, and also whatever is the code which is present in that event structure is appropriately executed. So I can have my save to file code present in this particular pane. So by using this particular VI, we can acquire input from the runtime menu and act accordingly. Okay. Now let's proceed to the next topic for today. So we have just now seen how to configure and use runtime menu, and now we see how to use Lava UI tools for creating better graphical user interfaces. Now, in order to give you the complete perspective of this, so let us have a small recap of the example that I gave you last week. So the VI which I showed you last time is this. So as soon as I run the VI, whenever I take my mouse pointer close to a particular control, it gets expanded. Whenever I take it close to this toolbar, it expands automatically. So the problem statement last week was to implement something similar using property nodes. Though it is true that it can be implemented by property nodes, it would be much easier in order to use ready-made VIs for the same. And these Lava UI tools are ready-made VIs for the same. So they implement the animation, etc. that we have seen over the front panel objects. Now, what is this Lava UI tools? Is it something made by LabVIEW or something made by NI? Not really. So Lava UI tools is developed by a community known as Lava, LabVIEW Advanced Virtual Architects. So it is available from this particular, in this huge repository of VIs known as LabVIEW Tools Network. Because it is relevant, let me just spend 1 or 2 minutes on telling you what LabVIEW Tools Network is. So LabVIEW Tools Network is a huge repository of free as well as charged LabVIEW add-ons, and it can be downloaded through VI Package Manager. So VI Package Manager, it's another software which you need to install, and through it you can download all of these free LabVIEW add-ons. So let me just show you how to use VI Package Manager. So again, I want to reiterate that though it is not mainstream relevant to what we are talking right now, because it is something which has come on the way and it is very important, it is good for us to have a look at VI Package Manager. So for the information, VI Package Manager is a software which has been written and developed in LabVIEW itself. So all this UI that you see here in front of you has been developed in LabVIEW itself. So once I install this VI package manager software, I can search for any LabVIEW add-on. The specific LabVIEW add-on in question, as I told, is Lava UI tools. So as soon as I search Lava, I get UI tools, and by double clicking on that, I can install it. Now what happens when I install it? If I install it, I can see the LabVIEW add-ons palette in my add-ons functions palette. So in my functions palette, under add-ons, Lava UI tools. So these VIs can be used in order to make very good GUIs, or to be specific, the last week's VI contest is made much easier using this particular UI tools. Now that way, I guess some of you who may have felt that you had lagged time in order to make the VI can use these particular VIs and submit the webcast contest of the week today, this week. Now let me show you how to use these. The most important of these is the engine, the graphics engine which has been embedded into this. So again, to show you where it lies, right click, add-ons, Lava, UI tools, that's it. So under that, I go to engine and move front panel object. So move object on the front panel. So I use this VI in order to gracefully move my front panel object. Now what is the front panel object that I want? I have my media player buttons according to our example. So let me add a few buttons. So I add a play button, I add a stop button, and let me say I can add a volume control. I resize this cluster. So I have a small LabVIEW, a small control in front of me, and this control can be animated using the VI that you see on your right side. How do you do that? Now before doing that, let's have a look at this VI. What are the inputs of this VI? Let's go to the context help. So the reference of the object, the final position, the desired position where it needs to move, and the movement speed. So I will use these three inputs. So how do I get the reference? Right click, create reference. So this reference I wire in, and I create a control for the final desired position. So the desired position is with respect to the origin that you see on your top left. So just to zoom into it, every VI that you create has this small thickened part, a dot kind of thing, which represents the origin of any VI. So all these coordinates are with respect to the origin. So I have the origin here, and I give a temporary location, something like 300 from left, and let us say some 60 from top. So this is the input location that I give, and I also have the option speed, and hence I don't want instantaneous, I want it to move very slowly and gracefully. So let's see how this runs. As you may have seen, I will repeat it once more. Whenever I run this, the control, the front panel control, wherever it is present on the front panel, it gets moved gracefully and smoothly to the desired location. How do you give the desired location? Through this input that you see on your bottom left corner of the front panel. So by giving different inputs here, I can decide where I want the object to be located finally. So let's delve a little bit more deeper into how to implement the last week's VI. So again, to reiterate, so this particular VI that is present, it is nothing very special VI or anything. It is just a small and packaged implementation of property nodes itself. So whatever is being shown right now with this VI can of course be implemented directly using property nodes, because this VI internally uses property nodes. Now, so what is the final implementation that we want? How does it look like? So the default uh, look of my particular control should be like this, where it is usually hidden, almost hidden, and whenever I bring my mouse on top of the control, it needs to animate downwards. That is the desired option. So we can achieve this easily by using event structures. So how do we do that? So what is the event that we need to detect here? Whenever my mouse pointer comes on top of the control, I need to detect that as an event. As simple as that. So I now add an event structure, and of course for any event structure it needs to be put inside a case, inside a while loop. So I add a while loop and then I add an event structure. I add a stop button. So now, so what is the event that I need to configure? Again, to repeat, the event that I need to configure is the mouse in. So whenever the mouse pointer comes over this, I need to detect that. So how do I do that? I right click, add an event case. So event corresponding to what? Corresponding to my cluster. Okay. And what is the event that I need to consider? Mouse enter. So this is the event which gets triggered whenever the mouse hovers on one particular control. So I click OK. So what is the code that I need to execute? This is the code that I need to execute depending on what is the initial position. So this code I execute. So as soon as I run it, whenever I take my pointer here, you can see that it gracefully hovers into my visible region. Of course, because whenever I remove my mouse from there, it does not go back to its previous position. Why? Because there is no event configured that way. So how do I do that? So how do I do that? So I need to configure another event for this. So I right click, add another event case, all elements, mouse leave. Earlier we had added mouse enter and now we add mouse leave. So whenever a mouse leave event happens, I need to send that particular control to its previous location. So how do I do that? I give another input here. So whenever my mouse goes in, the toolbar drops down. Whenever it goes out, it goes back. Whenever it goes in, it drops down. Whenever it goes out, it goes back. So this implementation has been uploaded on this particular on this week's discussion forum. So you can have a look at the same and take it as a starting point to build your media player application. Now, so just to reiterate, Lava UI Tools is a free add-on for LabVIEW for making good UIs, graphical user interfaces. We have just seen how to use a small part of the Lava UI Tools. I would recommend you to spend some time in exploring what all are the other VIs present in the toolkit. Now, again the demo I have shown. So now coming to the third and last topic of this particular webinar, we see a few topics about how to manage resolution and sizing of VIs. Now, what do we mean by this? The applications that you may create, be it a VI or be it an executable, if you build an executable, those applications, they need to run on different systems, and different systems may have different screen resolutions. So in order for your front panel to look good on each of these screen resolutions, you need to be a little bit cautious when you are designing the VIs. So what are the recommendations then? Now, firstly, fix a minimum size for the VI. So this may seem a little bit strange at the first outlook, but most of the normal windows that we use have a minimum size. For example, take LabVIEW itself. Most of you may have seen this as the usual the window size which is obtained on default. So you can maximize it, you can make it to this much size, but you cannot make it smaller indefinitely. So there is a minimum size which is maintained in order to display each of the menu options as well as each of the graphical user interface objects clearly. And hence every graphical user interface that you need to develop needs to have a minimum size. How do you do that? You open a VI and File, VI Properties, Window Size. So under window size, we have the minimum size, minimum panel size. You can give pixel values here, or if you can resize the window to the appropriate size and then set to current panel size, in which case LabVIEW automatically takes the pixel width and pixel height. That is the first aspect of good GUI building. Now the second is maintain. You can use both of these options which are given here. Maintain proportions of windows for different monitor resolutions, as well as scale all objects on front panel as window resizes. So you can use both of these options in order to resize your front panel appropriately. For example, because I have ticked both of those options, an object which appears this much size on my normal on the smaller screen size will appear bigger size on the larger screen size. So depending on the window size, the front panel object appropriately gets sized. You can use this option also for wherever it is required for you. Now similarly, there are some other recommendations. So typically application which is developed on high resolution, when it is supposed to be run on a low resolution computer, that is when you may have some difficulties in rendering the front panel objects correctly, and hence you can develop on a relatively lower resolution computer and then move forward to a higher resolution computer. So by lower resolution, I don't mean a very low resolution, a relatively lower resolution depending on what is your type of application. Now the best solution is this solution, the fourth solution that you see here, which is programmatic sizing of front panel and front panel objects. So what do we mean by this? So any front panel whenever it is resized, you can dynamically programmatically take the bounds of the VI and scale all the front panel objects appropriately and programmatically. So let me show you a small example of this. Now this is a UI which has been developed in LabVIEW. So as you can see, whenever the window is in semi-minimized condition, this is the look of the window, and whenever it is maximized, you can see that each of the front panel object appropriately resizes. And this is an open source VI which is present on our community, known as Replication and Deployment Utility. You can have a look at the source code of this and see how programmatic front panel resizing and front panel object resizing has been implemented in this application. Again, as I told, VI Package Manager also does a very good job of resizing the front panel objects. Now, having said this, sometimes you may be in situations where you want to resize only specific objects on the front panel and not all the objects. In that case, what do you do? Well, one suggestion for that is to use splitters. So how do you use splitters? On front panel, you right click, go to Modern, Containers, Horizontal as well as Vertical Splitters. So what is the advantage of using splitters? Splitter divides the front panel into multiple panes, and whether a front panel object should resize or should not resize depends on that specific property for the pane. For example, here I have configured the bottom pane as well as the right pane to resize whenever the pane resizes, whereas the top left pane I have configured it not to resize. That is why whenever I maximize my window, you can see that the bottom front panel objects, the front panel objects present in the bottom pane as well as the front panel objects present in the top right pane, both of them resize, whereas the front panel object present in the top left pane does not resize. So this can be used as a small alternative where you want multiple resizings, like on multiple front panel objects. Some of them you want to resize, some of them you don't want to resize. But of course, just to repeat, as I've said, the best way is to do programmatic resizing of your front panel objects. That gives you the fullest freedom of how to design your application. Now, that's it for the webcast today. So of course, we have our feedback session. So I have another poll for you. So you please, you can cast your vote on whether this webcast was helpful to you or not. You can see that the poll is in progress, and okay, thank you very much for your poll. It seems that around 3/4 of the people it was useful, and for around 1/4 of the people it was somewhat useful. We value our feedback and we would take it into account for our future webcasts. So now, coming to the VI contest of the week, as I said, we had only 2 entries for the last week's VI contest, and hence we do not want to mention any winner of the week. But there are special mentions to Amori and Ganesh Murthy, so both of whom have submitted good user interfaces. So I would also like to tell you that the VI contest of the week, because we did not have many submissions last time, it would remain the same. So this week I would really request you to take some time off and make a media player application. So I hope that this time you will not face difficulties in starting off, because we have uploaded an example VI, as well as I have also focused in this session as to how to use Lava UI tools, as well as how to use Runtime Menu. So I hope many of you come up with good applications and we successfully finish the VI contest of the week. Also, the VI contest of the week is uploaded on labuenable.in. So in case some of you are facing queries regarding how to proceed, feel free to post your questions there. It is not only for submitting your submitting your solutions, it is also for asking, and it is for interacting. So as I said, LabVIEW enabled is the social network for engineers, academicians, as well as students, where you can interact. So it is not only a forum where you can submit your solutions, but also a place where you can interact. So if you have any doubts, you can of course post your doubts there, and we would be happy to help. Also, you can attend 20 webcast sessions and win a free CLAD attempt, Certified LabVIEW Associate Developer, and hence become certified. So you can also view a recording of this session, and you can also participate in the VI contest of the week. So hopefully, I expect that we would have a double-digit number this time for submissions. So in case for some of you have already submitted the entries, I would suggest you to include the newer features like Runtime Menu, as well as try to make a real media player. I see that some of you have not really made a media player. You have only made the graphical user interface. If you have time, in case you have time, you are free to develop a media player itself. That way, you will have a experience of developing an end product, an end application. Thank you very much. We'll be online for 10 more minutes. You are free to ask your questions.